Hey,
Hey,
well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our profit sales process training. This is, obviously, Tom, this is the most important one.
I
It's
mean, what could be more important than this?
nothing, nothing at all. World peace, nothing. Solving poverty, maybe that would be more important. Ending the pandemic, but aside from that, this is the most important one. Using facts to help. Selling your solution and helping the retailer become more successful and sell more beer or whatever beverages you want to sell. With us today is Tom Fox, who is our leader and the guru that we rely on for all of his expertise, and showing us how we can become more effective at helping our customers become more successful. And also joining us in disguise as Jim Kaleka is Sean Fox. I don't know why he doesn't want to show his face, but at any rate, we're happy that he's here. So without further ado, Tom, I'm going to turn it right over to you so we can get rolling into this today.
That's great. So Jim, just before we even get started, I have a thought.
Yeah.
We always, I look at it this way, and I think you probably do too. When we think about like a professional salesperson, someone who, like today's topic being fact-based, and at the outlet level, yesterday we had the chain group, and fact-based is, incorporates a lot more sophisticated data. At the outlet level, it really doesn't. But I'm always thinking like bigger picture, like how do we get people to have an epiphany that would just go, relationship selling is fine, and I want that relationship, but I've got to provide value. I just have to. I don't know how many people have had that epiphany. I don't know. Not as many as I wish have. I don't think it's very many. I don't know. Maybe it might be 10%, might be 15. I'm kind of shooting in the dark a little bit, but here's my point. If someone got like energy around fact-based selling, and they were like, okay, I know what this suggestion is going to deliver revenue-wise, profit-wise. I know. How hard would it be then to go, I wonder in that beginning conversation, I wonder how hard it would be for me to have them tell me that they want to increase their sales or they want to increase their profits, because I've already prepared, this impact that my suggestion is going to deliver, that why wouldn't I could sell the numbers and be pretty aggressive with that. But how would it not be better to go, you just mentioned how important it was to increase your sales. Let me walk you through something. You just mentioned how important it was to increase profit. Jim, this could be the glue. I guess my whole reason, this could be like the glue for the epiphany going, aha, I get it.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I've mentioned this before in other webinars that we've done. Is I often look at it from the standpoint of being the customer myself.
Right.
I try to put myself in a position of, if I wanted to talk to a real estate person, which you've had to do most recently.
Yeah, it's closing. They're signing the documents as we sit here now.
Congratulations. That's
thank you.
But I think we've all been in a situation at some point, buying a car, buying a house, buying an appliance, anything that is a larger ticket, furniture, where you walk into the store and the person is approaching you. Can I help you? Well, no, I'm just looking. Well, what are you looking for? I mean, they literally, they're trying to uncover your needs.
Oh, yeah.
Because in the past, salespeople have gotten a bad rap for whatever reason. We could go into that. That's a whole nother conversation. And the consumer, whoever's the buyer, is reluctant to offer that up. And I think it's because maybe they've been burned, or they don't want to be sold, they don't want, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But how great is it when you do encounter a salesperson who is genuine? They are able to communicate to you, what is it you're looking for?
Yeah.
And they guide you right to what it is. And I don't see this as any difference other than
I agree with you. It's funny. I was doing some work. Sean and I were doing some work with this cannabis company a couple weeks ago, and in states where it was only medically legal.
Yeah.
Jim, I've never seen my empathy lecture and I guess you'd call it interactive lecture ever lay an egg like it did with this group. And here's the reason why. It's the only time, Jim, in 21 or 22 years where what would someone say if they're a dispensary? They call them the dispensary. What do they call them, Sean? DMs or DAs? Dispensary Associates. Dispensary Associates. Jim, what would be the natural thing for a dispensary associate to say when someone who's in a medically legal state, they'd go, "What brings you in today?"
Yeah, right.
And so it was a group that already embraced empathy. It was the first time I've ever seen it. So it was like fish in water. I mean, they were,
right.
It was cool. Now, I do think on the other side where it's recreationally legal, maybe that gets lost a bit because the thought might be, I'm just assuming they're coming in here to get high. Not, but the point was, I was like, I've been waiting for this for 22 years where I walked into an audience and they're like, duh. And Jim, full disclosure, the feedback we got, they're like, he talked about empathy too long. And I did. Just never seen a group like it. It was really, at the end of the day, it was really refreshing. And so I share that only because I think they all kind of connect. Sometimes the empathy would be the conduit, like, oh my God, well, if I know they want profit, I better prepare. But I mean, this is so fundamental. Nothing we're asking people to do is outside of their capability. So like, as you know, most of everything we ask people to do, whether it's coaching or selling, there's always two questions. If someone's not doing it, there's always two questions. Maybe why wouldn't they do it? Mm-hmm. They can't do it. It's just above them. It's just not something they can do, which is not the case. Then the second reason, right?
They've never been exposed to it.
Well, they don't want to. They elect not to. And the only time you can ever say, I give you a pass, if you've made this subconscious decision not to, well, that's fine. Now we're going to make it conscious. And now that it's conscious, are you still telling me you won't do it? Mm-hmm. And that's what I want coaches. And so for all of the salespeople, Jim, are going to watch this, I want them to kind of be thinking through this idea of like, why wouldn't you want to add the most value? Because what's going to happen when you do? You're going to be more successful.
Absolutely.
So, I mean,
it's very logical.
Yeah. Right? I should address this here. I keep advancing slides. So obviously this is one of 5 of these programs. This is the second iteration of this. We have taken everyone's feedback. So if you are watching this and you've allocated 3 or 4 hours, I'm going to give you some great news. This is going to last an hour, 15 minutes or so. We've taken the feedback we've gotten from our, candid clients, which has been helpful, that we are going to abridge these a little bit. We're going to still maintain the frequency. And Jim, you and I know we can get a lot accomplished in an hour and 15 minutes around this topic of fact-based selling. In the months coming up, where you've got handling objections and closing, and then the whole idea of execution. And, even today, Jim, I do want to have you, and probably not Sean, he's driving, but there might be an appropriate time where we even have a shell sheet pulled up and we can do some little rehearsals. I actually have a sell sheet that's embedded, so maybe that would work. But anyway, great initial discussion. I do think it's important. And Jim, I would want any salesperson to kind of see us talking now and going, boy, they're pretty defiant that maybe the industry isn't approaching the customer in a value-added, empathic way. So that, I'm hoping, makes it conscious for every person who watches this. And we can throw this question, the little gauntlet, out right now going, are you focused on needs, and have you prepped around identifying the impact? Jim, it's no simpler than creating the sell sheet.
Yeah, right. I agree. Well, if just to dispute any illusion or confusion, we are militant about it.
We are militant, yeah. But I want that to be the conduit for them to go, wait, is it possible that maybe Jim, one of the things that I always have to be mindful of, and you've lived this a lot more recently than I have, but how many times has a retailer ever said to a salesperson, I'm sure it's happened, but I don't think it happens very often, when they would say, all right, Kaleka, you want me to bring in Bud Light Seltzer? How much revenue am I going to generate a week? How much profit am I going to generate a week? First of all, not an unreasonable question.
Nope.
But how often do they ask it?
I mean, again, it's rare. It's rare.
And why would it be rare?
Well, I think because they're not used to it. They're not used to having that conversation.
They wouldn't expect the salesperson to have an answer.
They just
So
don't
if we did have
remember.
an answer, think about how that elevates us. If we did have an answer now, have we eclipsed 95% of all salespeople?
Mhm. Yeah. So here's the irony in all of this is that having come from the distributor side of things and been in conversations like this, when suppliers are coming into a distributor and they want them to take a new brand, what's the first thing they're asking? What's my margin going to be? The wholesaler wants to know
They're doing it.
what
That's
their
right.
margin is, how much they're going to make on it. And that's the key. And it's crazy because that just doesn't translate or move throughout the whole selling team.
Well, I agree. So I love this conversation. I think it was important to get our opinions out there in the nicest way possible. What Jim and I are doing, despite the hard work that all of you put in, despite the well-intended effort that you are making to your company, to your customers, to your family, we think there's a big opportunity, to make your selling efforts more fact-based.
And never has it been a
the
time.
good news is we're going to make it easy for them, right, Jim? We're making it easy.
Yes, we're making it easy. And we're also, opening our eyes to the idea that in this day and age, with all of the competition, with all the SKUs, with retailers really are screaming for help right now. I mean, this pandemic, they're looking for traffic. I mean, we've gotten feedback a lot lately about that being one of the primary needs that retailers are experiencing, especially the independents. And I think this topic is going to really address that independent segment as much as any other segment. Correct?
I totally
up and down
correct.
the street, on premise, off premise.
Totally correct. And Sean, who is formerly known as Kevin, don't call me Jim Kaleka.
Yeah.
Feel free to chime in, Shawnee, anytime you want. I know you're distracted, preoccupied, but it goes without saying. And if we have a Quigley sighting, we'd be all in on a little Quigley sighting. So
okay, he's sleeping now. So
Quigley.
For those of you who don't know, Quigley is Sean's dog.
It's my granddog.
Yeah, he is very well trained, well behaved. He's a little pooch.
He is the cutest little thing. I love that. I love that little pup. All right, Jim, true or false, being fact-based simply means we have numbers, data that we can present to our customers. That would make it fact-based.
False.
False. We want numbers. So maybe by someone's definition, that might be fact-based, but by my definition is we have to compare numbers. So if an account is up 10%, that's facts, but it's not the facts the way I would see it. If we don't compare that 10% to a like average number for all of that account's competition, then it's not as fact-based as it could be. So, and even the idea of like, hey, you're going to make, 25% margin, that's incomplete. It's fact and it's important, but we got to take that a couple steps further, which we will get into. And it comes down to, Jim, this very simple obligation, which our sell sheet tool does allow, is to calculate the revenue and profit impact. And Jim, that can go for a new item. That could go for a promotion. Our sell sheet's got the range where when you simply, how many numbers are we inputting, Jim? We're inputting cost, velocity, price point, right? So it's not, you have to, garbage in, garbage out. You want to make sure you have some intelligent forecast. And again, always, under promise, over deliver, we think would be really important. All right. You're probably wondering, what quote do I have?
Well, not necessarily.
Because you've already seen it.
I've seen it. I looked at it.
What do you think about this one? What do you think about this?
I love it. Honestly, care enough to create value for customers. If you get that part right, selling is easy. And it truly is. It's no longer selling, it's helping.
It's helping.
You're helping the retail.
Yeah. That's a great point. It is not, yes, it is selling. It just looks like helping.
Yeah.
And Jim, I often wonder if we shouldn't be harping on that way more, because did I tell you about this book I'm reading about the inner game of tennis?
No.
So, I played tennis in high school and college, and it's not really a tennis book. It's more of a mind book. But this tennis instructor was well regarded, trained and taught, managed many high level professionals. But he also did a lot of rank and file, like, lower level, more club level players, not professionals. And, he knows the technique like nobody's business. I mean, this guy understands, the whole, like, where you should be, what your arms and,
Angles,
your hands, everything. He knows it all. And so he could teach it all. And people struggle with that. And then the only thing he did, Jim, he's like, how intuitive is it to hit a ball? It's pretty intuitive. I mean, so what would prevent someone from hitting the ball effectively? It would be their feet aren't in the right place. They didn't prep. They didn't, like, the Wayne Gretzky, they didn't anticipate where the puck was going. If you hit a ball to someone's forehand, and they have to run for it, they're going to be lucky to hit it back in the middle. So you're probably going to be fine. But if you hit one down the line, they're probably coming back down the line themselves. So all he started telling people, and this was beginners, was he said, I'm going to just watch you hit balls for 15 minutes. And the only thing I want you focused on is that when you're ready to hit the ball, your feet are in the right place. And he wants your feet. So you and I are facing each other. In tennis, you got to be, you want, your feet should be perpendicular to where you're hitting the ball. So he's like, all I want you to focus on is getting your feet in the right place. And he said people's development skyrocketed. So parallel that to our industry. If we said to people, we're going to watch you sell for 3 hours, and all I'm going to ever talk about is, did you help the customer? It's kind of the same thing.
It's pretty basic.
So in this case here, you care enough to create value. What's value? Revenue, profit. That's value. So if you care enough to create, meaning like you've prepared this, so now you know this, would it be fair to say that then selling's pretty easy?
Yeah,
it really is. I thought this, I don't know who Anthony is, but I'm a fan.
Way to go, Anthony. Gold star for Anthony.
Yeah, it's kind of a pro tip by Anthony. It's a little pro tip.
It's all about uncovering needs.
Yeah. Well, again, value is based on, like, well, how does one customer view value versus another? So that's the needs piece.
Instead of just assuming that they want more sales or they want more profit.
Look at the little Rob coming out of the gate with the insight there. Nice job.
Well, even Rob on Wednesday said that the other day. He validated of like us walking into an account assuming that we know what their need is or that they just want to make more money.
Jim, that sounded like Sean, but his visual was Kevin Kraft. And
yeah, I'm talking about my colleague Rob.
and I got to give Jim, I got to give you the credit for that comment because I'm seeing your name.
Yeah, thank you.
Seeing Kevin Kraft's visual here. It sounded like Sean, but I'm going to give you the credit for that.
Thank you. He's an imposter.
All right. So where does this whole fact-based selling thing come into play when we look at the profits process? I put the box on 1 and 4 on the P and the F, and I think that's primarily where it goes. You could argue it could go in I and T. You could argue that. And you could argue that even 3, knowing how do we cater our flawless pitch, would require us to know that, like what Sean just said, uncovering needs. So you could, but the point is, this is an important topic because we know that what would drive, one of the things I find really valuable for a salesperson and, would make someone very successful is confidence. I love the quote. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Spectacular achievement is always preceded by unspectacular preparation.
Well, we could debate whether it fits in any of the other numbers, but the bottom comment in terms of the focus on preparing and creating, the rest of that can come. You don't worry about whether it fits into 2, 3, 5, 6, or 7, unless you have 1 and 4 down. If you have those down, then the rest of that will become a little bit more natural.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. Yeah, so the fact-based selling piece, if you prepare a little bit, and again, Jim, are we talking an hour prep per store? Is that kind of the bar we're talking about?
No, I don't think so.
No, I mean, it's like if you create one sell sheet, it might be a 15 or 20-second prep just to edit it, change the name, if you had to change the price point or the forecast of units that we're forecasting to sell, you're talking. I'm going to say it's seconds, not even minutes.
Yeah. Well, again, that comes to, I think that's so much of that is number one.
Yeah, it
And
is.
knowing and just knowing your portfolio well enough to know to be able to pivot on the spot if need be. You got that look like you're about ready to say, is it just remarkable?
No, I'm looking at Sean's
Oh,
visual.
that's what I
It just
that's what I
makes me-
figured.
That's pretty funny. All right, so I do want to talk about the idea that when we get into facts, there is a big difference between information and insight. So I do want to paint that picture. And really simply, we want to be always comparing. So there, and it's funny, I have mentioned this before, but I would say historically, up until maybe 5 years ago, I would have thought that information was a commodity. It really wasn't that important. It's all about the insight. But I don't feel that way anymore, because when I look at the information that we're looking at, it could be, hey, we're selling, we work for a distributor, our total distributor, for this particular account's up 5%. We look at the numbers for accounts around them. Let's say it's a C store. Other C stores in this geography are up 10%. So there's a gap there. That's information. Information can't be debated. This is what's going on. When we think about, okay, so why would one account be up 5, but everybody else is on average up 10? Well, there's going to be some explanation, but that's going to be more opinion, more like, okay, I think the reason why you're up 5, everybody else is up 10 is you're not carrying the right items. Somebody else might go, you're not promoting the right items. So the insight as to how we could solve that is going to be more subjective. And that's okay, as long as you have numbers behind you and you can kind of back it up. You need both. And to me, the whole crux of identifying opportunities with facts comes from this idea of knowing what's going on and being able to communicate that and collaborate with that. We talked a lot about that yesterday, obviously, with the chain group, which I think it's a little bit higher bar. Here, it's just basically finding out, what's going on with your business? What do you want to see improved in your business? And we go back to this next slide, which is, are you trying to increase your sales? Are you trying to increase your profits? Are you trying to get the average customer to spend more money? Are you trying to enhance the image? You're trying to bring in more people, make the experience more memorable. These are the big 6. When we think about needs, it comes back to Sprite. And when you think of the whole idea of like what's going on and looking at the numbers, it probably is clear where they might have gaps, and we'll get into some examples, but it's again, it's 4th grade math. We're not talking calculus here. It's pretty simple stuff. It's just a matter of getting organized, getting the data, and then, and I would say analyze and translate it, but it's pretty clear. If you see account is up 5, market's up 10, that doesn't take long to realize, okay, that's a gap that might be meaningful to our customer.
Mm-hmm.
So when we think about like this whole idea in this case here, we would want to start at the portfolio level. So if we're working for a distributor or a supplier, total company business, looking at the trends, looking at the rate of sale, and then you can start to drill down and go, all right, if there's a big gap, where's that gap coming from? Maybe if one account's up 5 and everybody else is up 10, maybe there's one brand that we could then drill down and go, oh my God, that brand's down 25%, everybody else is flat. If we just fix that brand, we fix the problem. And again, it's not rocket science. It's pretty simple. And then if you then go within that brand, is there one SKU that's dominating, this loss, this pain that we're suffering? It wouldn't be difficult to find it. And then there goes your solution. Okay, do we have to promote it more? Maybe do we have to fix it with distribution? Everybody else is carrying this package, this account's not, just as some examples. So when we look at total portfolio, brand, and SKU, we're going to look at what I would say we're looking at what's going on a performance standpoint and a development standpoint. Again, Jim, we talked about this ad nauseum yesterday. Again, the higher bar for the chain team, not as high of a bar for up and down the street, but still can be pretty compelling.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be difficult to understand what's going on. I don't think it should be difficult to collaborate, getting the customer to say, geez, I'd like to improve what's going on. And I think it's within everyone's capability, and boy, would it separate our clients from the competition.
To that point, Tom, I was just thinking in my head, the sales reps by and large are talented.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
Distributors over time and suppliers, I think that they've done a good job at hiring good people. And they
Agree.
do have, it's not like they're just throwing them out there completely raw. So the fact of the matter is that just by embracing a few different principles, i.e. uncovering what their need is, they should already have some of those skills in terms about identifying, oh, I can tell you last year you had a display up front in the lobby.
There you go.
You didn't do it. Okay, so that's one of the things.
That's gonna leave a mark. Yeah.
Exactly. So that all I'm saying is that to those listening, you might not be aware that you have these skills or that you have the capability to develop the skills, but you do. It's not complex.
Yeah, I love that. I really do. So when you start looking at the numbers, we're talking really, Jim, not opportunities, we're talking gaps. But then as we communicate the gaps and collaborate on the gaps, it's not an opportunity until the customer says it's an opportunity. And I think that's the really important point here. Meaning you just can't present the data without checking in with the customer to say, all right, so this is what's going on. And I think it's also important to point out, to mention that, hey, I know you know what's going on. You're on top of your numbers, even if they're not. You're gonna give them respect. But what you could say, hey, I know you know what's going on, but I really want your opinion on this. That's because their opinion's going to be, yeah, like in this case here, hey, you're down, you're up 5%. Everyone else is up 10%. If we can get you to 10%, that's an extra $3,000. I assume you'd want to get that revenue because that's the demand that's out there for our brands. I assume you'd want to get that question mark. I mean, that would be collaborating versus saying, hey, here are the numbers. You're up 5, market's up 10, 3,000 opportunity. We're on it for you. It's just not the same thing.
No.
But I do think that there's a lot of salespeople that need to practice collaborating because some people aren't comfortable giving the power away. When you check in, you're giving the power. I'm checking in with you. And, Jim, you're familiar with this one little brand of beer. I'm helping this one emerging company take to market. It's been a lot of fun, and I've helped them with their demos, and we've done 1 million demos, and they were very initially keen on just telling them about the brand. It's a special brand, and just pop. And I was like, you got to check in. You got to get, you have such cool things to say. Wouldn't it be cool if they said, hey, what do you think? When you look at the package, what do you think? When you look at this compelling marketing, what do you think? And now they're using the words, I want to stop and check in with you. They're saying it. And it's like, so cool.
Wow.
Pretty cool. Anyway, Jim, let's look at some numbers.
Okay.
So this is an example. If you look here, Jim, what we're looking at is a Marinos. We're comparing Marinos, which is a C-store, to the convenience and gas channel. So the first few columns are dealing with all of the C-stores in this trade area. The last couple columns deal with one specific account. So when you look at our total business in C-stores overall, we're up 4%. Marinos were down 6%. It doesn't take long, and anyone could look at those numbers and go, there is a gap. There is a gap. So market's up 4%, account is down 6%. So a couple different ways we could present this. First thing we could do is say, hey, you're down 6%. What if we just got you back to even? With that, and even though the market's up 4%, let's just get you back to even, or even get you back to the overall level of the account. So just setting it up here, and notice what's at the very end of this quote.
Yeah. I'm assuming you want to turn this around.
It's a question mark.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. We want to get their opinion. We want to check in, because how many people would say, wait a minute, everybody else within your business, and if we're a distributor, Jim, we could be half of their business.
Right.
Or even if we're a third of their business, or God, if we're, we have some clients that have 60-70% market share.
Sure.
If there's a 10-point gap, I can't imagine anyone going, I'm good. Yeah, I'm down 6% with you. Everyone else is up 4%. I'm good. No one's going to say that. Now, again, this is the way we would start it off. We wouldn't Notice we don't even have any really hard numbers yet. That's going to change. That's going to change. So first conversation, we would say, all right, let's collaborate. Let's walk through the situation, paint the numbers, identify the gap, and then check in. I assume this is something you'd want to see those numbers turn around. Question mark. Okay. Then if we wanted to get a little bit more detailed, we could say, hey, if we just got them back to even, that represents an $8,000 opportunities for Marinos. Or if they actually got Jim to +4, that's a $14,000 opportunity. Now, those are opportunities based on cost dollars, not retail. We could actually turn them around. If they made 25% on beer or 50% markup like they might on wine, it's going to be less than that for their margin. But if they used a markup, you're talking about now a retail difference of 21,000. So that's going to be 21,000 actually going into your register. The 14,000 is what they paid for it. So 21,000 for one account might be pretty compelling.
Yeah.
So if they didn't see the gap, Jim, you're down 6, everybody else is up 4. Now that if that didn't resonate, I think this would resonate.
So it looks like here you're giving anybody watching the opportunity to have a variety of ways to approach it. You can either approach it in gross dollars, or you can approach it in their margin or markup, right?
Yeah.
And what would be the simple way of maybe recognizing which of those might be more compelling to the customer? How would you know which would be more compelling?
Well, I think you just have to simply ask, hey, when you're calculating your price points, are you using margin or markup, and what are you using?
Right.
Yeah, you're right, Jim. In this case here, I'm making an assumption. If they're wine, they might have a 50% markup. If they're beer, it might be a 25% markup. And again, one of the states we do a lot of business in is Ohio. Ohio has that, it's a mandated state minimum markup. They have to go 50% wine and 25 beer. So that's how it would happen in Ohio. Other states might be similar, but it might not be legislated, if you will.
Yeah, well, for this exercise, I agree with how you have it on there. I'm not even really trying to determine, I'm looking at it from the standpoint is that if you have uncovered the need and you have confirmed that they're interested in more sales as opposed to profit, then that would be the more compelling of the approaches, right? I mean, it really depends. You should know either. You should be able to present either.
You're right.
That's all.
You're right. And if anyone's wondering, how did he get 8,000? How did he get 14,000? All I did, Jim, if you look here, that second of all the different numbers, their cost dollars were 139,000. So if we improve that by 6% to get them to even, that's 8,000 more dollars of cost that they would generate. If it was 10, it'd be a little bit more, it'd be 14. So that it wasn't any tricky math. We just took the trend, applied that trend as a percentage to their overall base of business and said, hey, if you got back to, the rest of the market, that'd be a 10% improvement. That's roughly 14,000 cost dollars. And we can then convert those cost dollars into retail revenue dollars simply to your point, by applying the margin, whether it's markup or margin, either way.
You just really, I think we may have accidentally stumbled upon a great opportunity for ourselves. And that is, and we've talked about it with presentation building with the chain, and we've addressed it with sell sheet building using a solution with cases and whatnot. But I'm wondering if we could create some type of a wizard that would allow us to plug this gap analysis.
I'd love that. Yeah.
I don't think that would be difficult. You would still have to do the research and know what those numbers were,
right?
But you could add that, and then you could come with your solution in terms of what the items are that you recommended. I want to make a note of that.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. And yeah, guess what, too? I got a guy named Scott that might be able to.
You got a guy?
I got a guy.
Yeah. All right.
I like that, Jimmy. You're always thinking. Always thinking.
I'm always thinking.
So how would it sound? So, okay, now we walk through the math. Again, I'll just read this, not that people can't read themselves, but hey, if we can get your trends to match that of your average competitor, again, you're down 6, they're up 4. We're talking about 21,000 in potential revenue, which earlier you mentioned how important it was to improve your revenue. Let me walk you through an idea that I have that can help you capture those lost dollars. Jim, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this week we had 5 selling days across the country. Let's say we had let's say we had 100 sales reps, just as
Right.
a number we can, would it be safe to say that maybe 98 would never have done this at all this week?
I think so.
So a couple might have, but
Maybe.
so, and again, how long would it take someone to look at the trends for the account that they're calling on compared to their average, like whether it's a channel or the overall trends for the distributorship or supplier? It's not, I mean, these are not numbers that people couldn't generate.
The industry has done a great job at providing information to the sales reps, have put
Agreed.
it in their hands, having access to it. So that is not the problem.
Yeah.
Going to, develop insight from it is.
Yeah. So if someone said they wanted sales, this would be a great way to articulate the impact we could have based on the opportunity. Now, again, we haven't even gotten into the opportunity. All we're doing is painting the gap. I mean, we might come back and go, hey, there's a $14,000 opportunity or 21,000 in revenue. Good luck. I have no idea how you're going to get it, but that's the gap. That's how far behind you are. Good luck. We would never, but then if you said, okay, this is revenue, what if they wanted profit? Well, now we're going to have to generate some additional analysis around how we can do that. So we'll walk people through that. But again, if we can take advantage of the demand that this other account had, in this case here, if we had an account that did $149,000, your account only did $139,000. So now there's a $10,000 difference. So again, this is more of the development, Jim. The performance is what we've been talking about previously. Now this is development. This is not really worrying about trends, just saying, hey, an account, a single outlet account S, just like you, they generate almost 150,000 in cost. You were 139. Not a huge difference, but if you want that $10,000 of demand, which we know is there, again, we can turn that into retail revenue. If it was wine, it might be as much as $15,000.
Right.
And let me walk you through how we could do that.
Excellent.
So then when you start to identify the whole portfolio, now we start to drill down. We want to start to drill down. And in this case here, now we can start looking at it by brand. So what you're looking at here is a ranking of brands. And really what we're focusing on here are those ones highlighted in yellow, which really deal with the trend differences. So if you notice, the convenience channel are the first two columns of both gross dollars and percentage compared to a place called, just a fictitious account called Joseph's Beverage Center. So you can see where the ones we've highlighted, this Orloff brand of wine is down 75, but boy, everybody else is up 45. That's going to be pretty considerable.
Yeah.
Franzia, the box wine, down 4, everyone else is up 8. Sutter Home down 9 with the 1.5. Everybody else is up 3. Down 9 with small little 187, the little single glass bottle, versus up 1.2. So these could be places to start. And as you look a little closer, now you can start to think through, all right, so why are they down? We talked about the information and insight. Now it's time to come up with why. Is it a distribution issue? Did they take out the 1.5 of Sutter Home? Did they stop promoting Orloff? That's kind of what you mentioned earlier, Jim. Like, hey, last year we had the front end. We don't have it this year. That's going to cause a gap. Is there a display or a feature that we had to hurdle that we missed? That's how we start to drill down. And then if you really started then drilling down even further, Jim, and said, okay, now let's go down to the SKU level. Let's just say in this case here, we're looking at White Claw variety 12 packs. Well, if you'd look here, we have the account of, I guess all the chain supermarkets are averaging roughly 123 cases, per outlet, and this is 6 months of rate of sale. So we could take that 6 months and go, hey, at 123, let's just say someone didn't carry this particular SKU. What impact would it have if they could generate that same rate of sale? Well, and now you can start going through the math. It's not gonna be that difficult, right? Hey, right. So what's our priority SKU? Well, we're gonna prioritize White Claw variety. In the non-buys, we have a supermarket that just hasn't carried that package yet. So we want to generate a like account, like a velocity or a forecast. So what's the channel average? Well, the slide before, we said 123. So we have 123 cases. Well, heck, we know what the suggested price point is going to be, right? Hey, if they're selling it for $14.99, they're looking at it generating on 123 cases times 29, you're looking at $3,600. So in this case here, hey, our suggestion of bringing in White Claw, and let's say that we had, let's go back to that example a minute ago. We had a $15,000 opportunity. Hey, this can now generate, $3,600 in 6 months or $7,200 annual impact. That's going to capture nearly over 40% of your gap. So if you want to capture that gap that Swanson down the street has, an advantage over you, a gap over you, this can get you almost halfway there. I mean, Jim, a 6-year-old can understand that.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's pretty cool.
It's very cool. And again, going back to the average sales rep on the streets, if they were walking in with White Claw, they could very easily say, hey, this account up down the street is up and this one here is down, without using any of this. But I would argue, what's more compelling? Putting the actual numbers in front of the retailer? I mean, how much more important and impactful could that be versus just saying, oh, we can help you sell more cases? And I think that that's by and large the way people are going about it. They're not getting into the numbers and what the result would be based on their suggestion, just that they would be up.
Right. How would you respond to someone, Jim, that said, you know what, my customer, they're not a numbers person? How would you respond?
I would have to suppress the incredulous laughter first, and that might be my biggest challenge. I think I would ask them, why do they feel that way? Why is it you think your customers aren't? And just hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
And then I think I would just say, do you think they're not concerned about the numbers when they're doing payroll? You think they're not concerned about the numbers when they're making sure that they paid for the electric bill, that it's, cool in their coolers? I mean,
that's a great point. That's a great point. It's they care about numbers then.
Of course.
And listen, I still think even if someone's not a numbers person, we can still talk concepts. So, hey, we looked at your trends and listen, I don't want to bore you with the details. I can certainly walk you through it, but hey, the bottom line is the trends that you have, the performance you have with our portfolio compared to your competition, there's a little bit of a gap. You're up 5 or you're down, but all it means is if we could get your trends, it's $15,000.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't have to go through like all of this math.
Right. And
if someone said, BS, well, okay, well, let me show you what I'm talking. It's, very, all good. I'm glad you want to see it. Mm-hmm. I thought maybe that would be something you didn't want to see. So this is revenue, Jim. What about profit? Okay, so now we can back out the cost. If they cared about profit, hey, our suggestion of bringing in White Claw profit, we back out the cost, and we talked about that revenue of 15,000. But in this case here, you're looking at $738 or $1,400 over $1,400 annually in potential profit. And earlier you mentioned how important that was. Mm-hmm. And so again, Jim, conceptually, most people should understand the difference between revenue and profit.
Yeah.
Revenue goes into the register. That's what they generated, but they sent us an invoice. When they bought that product, they sent the invoice to the distributor. That cost has got to be taken out of that revenue. Everyone understands that. So it's important. And Jim, you've seen that, and I have seen role plays where people confuse the two.
Right.
And it shouldn't be confusing. Revenue is what, again, we think about that retail price times the number of potential cases they could sell. That's revenue. Not difficult to back out the cost. We know what the cost is. We know it.
Revenue goes in the register, profit goes in the pocket.
There you go. So beyond just distribution, which this is distribution, we also have promotion. And Jim, this might look familiar. We actually went over this yesterday with our group yesterday. But again, this can be a way to identify some forecasting for a promotion. So if we have a big store, you can tell this is one particular Kroger outlet, right? Mm-hmm. So if this Kroger outlet has, a 12-month, or in this case here, like a 9-month rolling recap of what they generated from a cost and purchase standpoint. Mm-hmm. If you look at those first few months in orange, that's averaging around $1,700 is what they generated for in this case, a wine brand, 19 Crimes,
Mhm.
from our friends at Treasury. So the forecast that you would see in the yellow highlighted columns, which were during the holidays when we got display support, you can see how that number jacks up. It goes actually on average to about 2,700. So there's $1,000 more of cost that could come in. So if we're talking about lift, when you calculate distribution suggestions, it's just one number. With promotions, you got to have two. You got to have what we would call a baseline,
Mhm.
and then we got to have a promoted levels, and likelihood be it's going to be a lot higher. In this case here, it's $1,000 higher, or frankly, Jim, a lift of probably 55-60%.
Yeah.
That's not insignificant. What can we do with this? There's a lot we can do with this. So we can start to forecast. So, okay, so now over 3 months, if we're looking at that $1,000 cost, and in the case of wine, if they're earning, 50% markup, which would be about 32% margin, roughly, or 38, I think, so not too far for a lot of states with the wine margins that they earn. So now you're looking at $1,500 of revenue over 3 months. That's $4,500 over what they would normally do. So if someone said, hey, I want, I want to, I'm trying to improve, that gap of 15,000 that you indicated is out there. How am I going to close that gap? Well, we can close 4,500 of it with this promotional solution right here. And again, you can look at the quote. Hey, our suggestion of putting up 19 Crimes displays are going to generate over that 3 months of, $4,500, or close to 1/3 of that $15,000 of retail that we mentioned earlier that you were looking to close that gap. Improving your sales, which is really what you said you wanted to do. Again, really consistent, right? And then if we wanted to look at the profitability, we know that if it's $1,000 in cost and $1,500 in revenue, you're looking at about a $500 per month incremental level of profitability over 3 months is $1,500. So it's pretty cool. So Jim, what do you think about you presenting to me this sell sheet right here?
Oh, I would love the opportunity.
So let's just start at the beginning and just see how easy this is. And if you want to take a second to understand it, I'm happy to walk you through my needs if you want to uncover them. Or you might want to do, Jim, is confirm them because you actually have needs listed already.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, how's it going?
Going okay, Jim.
Yeah. What do you mean, okay?
Well, I mean, not as much as we'd like.
Not as much what as you would like.
Well, I mean, we are tracking, the revenue that comes into the store. That's how I'm evaluated. And our sales are not where we need them to be. So improving sales is important.
Yeah.
But there are other things. There's other things too, though.
Absolutely. Aside from sales, and you've mentioned that to me before, Tom, but I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. Aside from sales, is there anything else that
we think the way to get that is going to be traffic. So we got to be maybe a little more aggressive, Jim, on the promotional front.
Sure.
We think is probably the way to go. But right now, some of the things we've tried have not necessarily worked. And, we're looking for ideas to grow our sales and traffic.
I understand that. So other than the sales and traffic, is there anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, cool. Well, listen, if you got a couple minutes, I have some ideas that I think might help you.
I've got a couple minutes. That's about all I got.
Okay. Your sales and traffic. We can keep this, pretty simple. As you know, if you're looking to increase your sales and traffic, which you just said, I think one of the greatest ways of being able to do that is leading with the workhorses. And as you know, Bud Light is the #1 selling light beer in the world. And my recommendation for you is that you put up a display.
See what I'm doing here?
Yeah, you put up a display. And where I'm suggesting you put that display is right up front where we had a display at the same time last year, which is contributing, I think, part to your numbers being down. And we run a promotion on that. Now, if you do this, one of the things that you're going to see is we have advertising, which is going to help you drive more sales and profit. We have great point of sale. As a matter of fact, this new football point of sale that Bud Light came out with as being the #1, the sponsor for the NFL is fantastic. Lions, maybe it'll help them win. I don't know.
That would be nice.
And then the other thing, as it is, it's the leading brand. And so that in and of itself is going to help increase. So my recommendation is based on previous sales. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So-
no, I mean, I know that you support the brand and we sell a lot of Bud Light, but yeah, I'm wondering what's in it for me.
Okay, well, considering the space that we're working with, I think that if we bring in 40 or 10 case, we put a 10 case display, which is 40 units of 6-packs, and you retail it at $7.99, it's going to present a gross revenue for you of $319. Or if you want to look at it from a profitability standpoint, your cost on that is $6.49. It's going to give you $1.50 for each unit that you sell. Overall, once you sell through this, which I think is going to be a week at most, you're going to look at it $60 of gross profit by putting in that displays. What do you think?
Jim, it sounds good, but I'm going to be honest with you, that space up front that you've identified, I've given that, I've already made a commitment to your competition, so I wouldn't be able to put it there.
Tom, I can understand that you've made a commitment on the space to the competition. And I also recognize the fact that you're looking to increase your sales and your traffic. And while my competition is a viable brand and product, it does not produce the traffic or the revenue and sales that my recommendation will do for you, which is what you want to do in terms of getting more sales and traffic. And how about if we put theirs over here? There is another opportunity. It's going to be behind the one that I have. Then I think that you're going to have the best of both worlds. You're going to increase your traffic by taking advantage of the advertising, and you're going to increase your sales, because people are very impulsive, and you want to make sure that that ring is happening when they're grabbing it as right as they're walking through that beer aisle. What do you say?
Well, Jim, you seem awfully confident.
Tom, I'm very, very confident. And the reason I'm confident is because I've been going through some training recently with the Tom Fox selling system in it. I have confidence exploding out of the top of my head. What do you say?
I think, well, Jim, I would say because of your confidence, I would say I'm very excited, and I'm frankly all in on the idea of you putting up that display only because of your confidence. So I would say that was the difference maker. Without that confidence, I don't know that I would have felt the love. I don't know that I would have felt it.
I appreciate that. I sincerely do. What's more important to me, though, is that you get increase in your sales, in your traffic, which is what you're looking for. Now, I'll come in. If I have to do cartwheels to demonstrate my confidence, I will do that.
All right, Jim, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
First of all, that was fantastic. And if I could, well, how do you think it went?
I think it went pretty well. I uncovered your needs.
What were my needs? What were my needs?
Sales and traffic.
Okay.
And I confirmed it.
You did. Yeah, no, it was great.
Yeah.
But the only thing that a lot of times, Jim, we talk about, what if like your boss didn't hear any of the conversation around needs? They were out in the parking lot on a phone call. When they walked in is when you started to sell in the table at the bottom.
Yeah.
If they would have heard your pitch, they would have gone, that's a hell of a pitch. But the pitch seemed to have completely equal time to revenue, maybe even a little bit more time on profit.
And not as much on traffic.
And not as much on traffic. So it doesn't mean that's not bad, right. But that would be some feedback.
Yeah. I
don't think it would have affected it, but I know if you could do it again, and I said, hey, Jim, based on this feedback, do it again. I think you would spend a little bit more time. Because then you could even say, hey, what could you do with that $300? You could start to have some fun with the $300 or $319. But no, sure. Overall, Jim, I don't want to, from start to finish, the needs flawless, the pitch flawless, going back to the need and the handling of objection was flawless. But so as people watch you, I want people to understand you always, when you first started, you've been selling for a long time,
right? But
you would have to say that you've never been a better salesperson than you are at this moment in time right now. Fair enough?
Yeah, fair enough.
Not even close, right? We were all better.
Absolutely.
So how long would it take someone to have the poise to review and present that sell sheet like you just did now? How long, like if someone's like, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Well, I don't want to, paint everybody with a broad brush, but the fact of the matter is, I've been doing this for a long time, and so that is a foundation. I also work with sales reps who have not been in it as long as I have, and we've seen during role plays that we do in our office of if they go through it 5 times, maybe 6, where they're practicing it. And if they're getting the good feedback from a coach who's identifying and helping them fine tune that, I think it's just a matter of putting their, jumping in with both feet and doing the rehearsal. And then you're going to see. You have to be willing.
I would say my thought would be, and it's an impossible question to answer because everyone's going to be different. And some people are going to take to it, really, really quickly. Others, it might take time. But it is predicated against this idea. If they haven't had an epiphany, it's not going to look like someone's helping. It looked like you were helping. I mean, it was really clear you were helping. But so I don't know how long it would take for someone to be that good, but I do know this. If someone had a chance to rehearse 5 times, we always use that term 5 times. And then I'm not talking 5 times where it's once every 5 years. So in 25 years, it'd be meaningless.
Right.
But if you were to practice 5 times, a couple times today, a couple times in 2 or 3 days, and how long did that just take for you and I, for you to present that? 2-3 minutes? Didn't take long. What's going to happen to people's comfort level, their confidence? They're going to be confident. They're going to feel that, and it should feel really good. So
it did feel good.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, Jim, our evolution of improvement for you and I probably happens. Is the word glacially, like glacially? Is that,
I understand what you're saying, whether it's a word or not.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen.
It wasn't like I sucked and then I was great. I sucked and then I sucked a little less, and then I sucked a little less, and then I was okay, and then okay, and then maybe a little bit more than okay, and I wasn't necessarily conscious of my evolvement. But it's so funny, Jim, because as a trainer, like I go back 22 years ago, and I wish I had video of like some of those early training classes, because I don't think I knew what the hell I was talking about.
Right.
I knew more than I knew more than the people I was talking to, but I didn't know much.
Right.
And so I do think that that's something that you and I have as an advantage, that as we've improved, even when we were not nearly as good as we are now, it was something that the client would look at and go, yeah, they're pretty good. They're really good. So I guess I'm just, this is an important dialogue, just so when people look and go, oh, I'll never get that good. We can't think that.
I wish Kenny knew
I know
we referenced him.
I know.
Okay? Because
what a success story.
Well, it's just there's many more that are.
Oh yeah.
We just may not be as intimately aware of that. But he is proof, he's living proof that somebody with 0 sales experience can become professional and have that confidence really almost, in a short period of time, because he embraced it. So, in terms of from that glacier standpoint, I think you've had it in quotes in previous presentations we've made in terms of, and you say it often, is that we're never too good.
No.
Now, we never not stop learning. And no matter how good we might think we are, we can always improve. And I think that is the key here. So I don't know. I love it.
What do you got planned this weekend?
Tom, I have my granddaughter. One of them is turning 7 years old. So
the oldest one?
Oh, no. She has an older sister that is 9.
Okay.
But the 9-year-old is the oldest granddaughter. And then I have a grandson who's 11. So he's the oldest of the grandchildren. But this same granddaughter that I'm having celebrating a birthday with, her mother is due any day.
Oh my gosh.
She could have, and that's a boy, it'll be their first boy. And so they're thrilled about that. And my wife's birthday is on Monday, so we're going to celebrate it Sunday. So I've got lots of plans of celebration. How about yourself?
Well, your weekend sounds really cool. Mine, we're moving. So we've got, the people who bought our house literally have probably signed all the documents. And I hope that within a few hours, I see a little ding on my bank account.
Yeah.
That won't be in that account very long, but I'll be rich for a minute.
It looks good there for the moment that it's in there.
Right. That'll be, I got to take a picture of that, because that would be cool. But no, so tonight, we don't actually get into our new place till tomorrow.
Okay.
So today, we're going to be in a hotel, and the kids, the three kids, you know them,
Sure.
they pooled together. And have you been to Eddie Merlot's?
I have.
Okay.
Only one time.
Okay. But the
my
corner
wife-
of Big Beaver and Woodward.
Yeah.
So it's a mile and a half from the hotel that we're in tonight. And so the little tykes pooled some money together, and they gave us a little gift card.
Nice.
So we're going to go, and they got us a reservation tonight. And I looked at the gift card, and I said to my wife, I said, isn't it nice that they bought us like a drink and an appetizer? Isn't that nice? Because this place is not cheap. I mean, it would be a place we probably wouldn't normally go, but my wife deserves a nice meal. She has so much of this move, Jim, has fallen on her shoulders. So I can't even tell you how much how hard we work, and some of the travel I've had, it's been a lot on her shoulders.
Well, you know what? You should just try to make it about her and celebrate her and everything else while you're having your New York strip. Is that what you're gonna have? You're gonna have a strip.
You know what? I don't know. I made a mistake. I had a burger last night. I like to usually lead up to a steak dinner and not have had any red meat for a few days. I probably will have a New York strip, but it might be seafood. I'm trying to really.
When I was there, the New York I had was perfect.
Yeah, it's a great. Yeah, it's a great place. So that's what we're doing. And then tomorrow, 10 o'clock, we sign our little deal, and then we, and as you know, I've got a bunch of boxes not far from here, and so we'll be working this weekend, but it'll be nice to get settled. We've been kind of crazy for the last, the house, we had our last night there a couple nights ago. It has been it's been horrible to live in a house where there's like nothing in there.
No,
it's like it's the worst.
Yeah, moving is the worst.
It's the worst.
It's the worst.
And I think, Jim, for 4 days I've said this house is almost empty. I think we got everything out of here. And then the next day, 8 more boxes and 4 more garbage bags. And then we're not done yet. And then it's just crazy. And my wife's kind of a little hoarder. She's a little bit of a hoarder. So we got that to deal with.
Yeah, well, I bet there have been a few moments of, oh, you remember this?
Oh,
hey, look at this.
Yeah. And then we both go, throw it away.
Exactly.
Anyway, Jim, I appreciate you as always on these. I really enjoy them. I think we have some fun. I know that if someone jumped on, they're going to take away the big 3 takeaways would be, identify an opportunity. When you're calling that account, identify an opportunity. Find out where there might be opportunity. Are there trends not keeping up? Is their overall rate of sale not keeping up? Have that conversation. It's very fundamental, but get comfortable with it. And then quantify the impact, revenue and profit. And then third, Jim, use the tool. We're not telling you to do this like and wing it.
No.
Put it on the sell sheet.
I just want to remind anybody listening too, that if you're the coach and you're practicing and you're rehearsing, don't be afraid to get that scorecard app out and use that and coach them, use the coaching app for them. I think it is going to help you develop more as well. So you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak. So with that.
Exactly. Well, good stuff. Well, enjoy your grandchild. Enjoy the rest of your day. To all of our folks, good selling. Have your epiphany, darn it, on data.
Likewise,
right?
Tom, enjoy that appetizer and drink.
I'm glad Sean was not here. He'd be offended if he heard that.
Yeah, he would. And I know you're joking.
And I'm happy. They know it. They would be they know I'm kidding. But anyway,
all right.
You're the man. Thanks, everybody. We look forward to hearing success stories, and we'll see you next month.